everyone, so this video is going to be my end of August updates, and I'm going to start with some new acquisitions. So this one is from Equigenera, and the name is Porroglosum josei, and this is part of the Pelatantheria family. I think that's the name, but the interesting thing about these group of plants is that they have a hinged lip that kind of acts like a trap for flies, so I thought that was really neat, and I wanted to get one. When I got this, it had pretty decent roots, but I noticed that it lost a few leaves, so I thought it needed more humidity, and which is why I put this cup just on top like that. So it's kind of like a little terrarium. So this one is also from Equigenera. It's Coryanthes leucocorys. This is my second Coryanthes, and this one is pink. So I'm really excited to get this one. It doesn't really have any roots. I cleaned it up and I chopped off all the dead roots, but there is a new growth growing here. So right now I'm just keeping it in some damp moss to help that get going. And this one is Brachypeza laotica, and it looks like a fowl, but it's not a fowl. It's in the Vandaceous alliance. And yeah, so this one's kind of cool. You can see in the pot that it's kind of hovering, and I just didn't want the stem to sit in the media. But it's been growing new roots for me, so far it's doing well. It has a new leaf as well. And the next two plants I got from this site in Paradise, and they're based in Ontario. They recently updated their website, so it's a lot easier to order from them. And I wanted to order from them earlier this year, but they weren't shipping out due to the COVID situation. But they've been shipping out recently, so I got two plants. And this one is Stererochilus erinaceus, and it's also part of the Vandaceous family, and the flowers are small and kind of fuzzy on the outside, so I thought it was really neat. This one is Pelatantheria ctenoglossum. So this one was also from the side of Paradise, and it kind of has a similar growth habit to Trichoglottis, so it's very vine-like, but it's a relatively small plant. So I think this one is actually cutting, because when I repotted it, it didn't have roots at the bottom here. It only has these aerial roots, so when I water it, I kind of just spray this part. So when I bought it, it was in bud, and now it has its flower, and it has another flower spike right underneath there as well. I have a short bloom video on this that's coming soon, so you can have a closer look at the flower at that point. Alright, so back to my existing plants, and this one is Ascocentrum garayi, and it bloomed for me, so that's very nice. And this one is Vanda cristata. Now I haven't watered these plants in a few days because I was busy, but this one seems to be perpetually dehydrated, at least the bottom leaves, so I'm not sure what's going on with it. It does have an active root tip behind on the mount. For some reason, the leaves always seem wrinkled. So this is Rhynchorides Bangkok Sunset, and I've been having trouble getting it to new roots, and for it to really do anything. And I remember Thrixspermum said that she also had a similar problem, so she put hers in moss in a clay pot. So I decided to try the same, and it's pushed out a couple new root tips for me, which is good. It was also pushing out a new leaf. And this is Thecostele alata, and it's growing well so far, although I don't think it has a very active root system. I think it's still a little bit wobbly in the pot, and then that one in the back there is pushing out a new growth. So these are my flask seedlings, and the Paraphalaenopsis laycockii are doing pretty well. Actually a couple really long leaves, which is good. And my Dendrobium tobaense are doing pretty good as well. This is Paraphalaenopsis labukensis crossed with Seidenfedenia mitrata, and it bloomed again. I haven't filmed a bloom video for this yet because I'm waiting for them to open properly, but here's a sneak peek. So the shelf is a little bit different from my previous videos. I installed new shelving, and you'll see later, in the other room to make room for taller plants, so I've tried to keep this place for short plants. So far it's been doing okay. And this is Thrixspermum leucocorys, And I think blooming season is starting for it because I did get a few blooms out of it, but not any recently. And this one is SLC World Vacation Shibuya Sunset. I think it has a mite problem. So this leaf, you can see it's not smooth like the other leaves, and it has a new growth starting, and it's starting to take on the same texture, so I think I need to take care of that. This is my Rhynchoride gutulata, and it also has a pest problem, but I don't think it's mites. I just noticed it, and you can see on this leaf there's some small black bugs on it, so I'll need to take care of this as well. So this is Dendrobium longicornu, and that last growth I had died off, and this growth, I don't think it's alive. I actually don't think this whole plant is alive at all, so I think I should probably just chuck it. This is Cloacia russelliana crossed with Catasetum tigrinum, and it's growing this growth. I'll probably give this away once it gets a little bit bigger, but yeah, it's actively growing, which is good. This is Rhynanthera monachica, and I left it outside for most of the summer. I brought it inside only because the nighttime is getting pretty cool now, so I didn't want it to get too cold. And I feel like it grew, but it didn't grow this leaf, it grew this leaf. I feel like this one seems bigger. No spikes or anything yet, though. This one is Galliandra barrii, and it's pushing out 2 new growths. And this is Cattleya dormaniana, and it has 2 new growths on it. Alright, so this is the top shelf, and my Leptodes bicolor still has that bud that was there before. It hasn't done anything. My Ascocentrum pusillum has a new leaf growing, and these 2 seedlings, Vanda insignis and Vanda foetida, are growing well. This is Catasetum tigrinum crossed with Catasetum kleberianum, and it's in bloom. I do have a bloom video, so you'll see better images of the flowers at that time. Oh, I should mention this plant did have a pest problem, but it was just on the one leaf, so instead of trying to deal with it, I just cut off the leaf. I think it's the same pest that's on my Rhynchoride gutulata and all the other plants that had a problem that weren't spider mites. I think they're thrips, but I'm not really sure. So I'm going to post a photo, if I still have it, here so you can see what the issue was. It's kind of gross, but there you go. And this is Cloacia russellianum crossed with tigrinum, and it's in spike. It's funny, the spikes are different. The other one goes down and this one goes up. This one is Catasetum gladiatorium crossed with barbatum, and it's also in spike. It also has a second new growth, which is good. This is Fel cornu-cervi Chatelade, and it pushed out a new spike, although nothing has happened since then. And this is LC Supersonic Striking Lip, and this eye is starting to actually grow now, so that's good. And this is my NOID Mormodes, and I had it previously in semi-hydro, but a lot of the new growths were drying out, and because they were higher on the pseudobulb, I decided to just put it horizontally so they can have a better chance at growing. But in the end, only this one survived. All the growths on the other pseudobulb are all dead. So I'm hoping this one will do well, and then I can give it away. So this is the new shelving unit in the computer room, and the nice thing is I have a lot more headroom, so I can have taller plants. So before, the wooden shelves, they were a little bit too short, so this gives more space, and also it's a bit longer, so I can fit more plants, which is great. The only downside is I need a stool or a chair to get up and observe the plants. So this is Polycycnus barbata, and it lost the latest growth. And I unpotted it to see what was going on, and I decided to take the top part of the media and just get rid of it, because The layer of moss is quite thick, so I couldn't really see what's going on. So I cleaned up all the roots and I noticed that it had another new growth growing. So that's great. So basically, there's no roots and it's just kind of gently sitting on top. This is Dendrobium formosa, and this is kind of a huge disappointment for me. I had 4 buds growing and they all blasted. It was pretty sad, but I think I understand what happened. There was a time where I just installed these shelves and it was pretty warm out and we had the fans going, so I think there just wasn't enough humidity to keep the buds, so next time I'll be a bit more careful. But it was about to bloom for me, which is a good thing. One thing I noticed was on the latest cane, it kind of started to split. I didn't think orchids would do that. I usually sort of associate splitting with like cacti if they get too much water, but it's happening to this one. And this is my Paraphalaenopsis, and it's really pushing out that new leaf, which is great. And this is Bulbophyllum silvaceae, and it's pushing out 3 new growths. So it seems pretty happy up here, so which is good. And this is Bulbophyllum harborotinum. So it pretty much lived outside for most of the summer, and I brought it inside since it was cooling down, and it's pushing out this new growth. Honestly, I'm kind of considering just throwing the plant away. It's kind of... I've been struggling with it for a while, and I don't know if I like it enough to put this much effort into it. I might want to try other bulbophyllums, so I think I'm going to do that actually. So this is the last time you're going to see this plant. And this is Rhynchorides flabellata, and it's also been living outside, and I think it liked it because it did push out a lot of new roots, although I didn't see that much growth either, so I'm not sure what to feel about this plant. And this one is Cloecia rubrica northern crossed with Catasetum cleberianum. And in my Catasetum video, this is the best growing one, but what happened was the latest pseudobulb had a brown spot and I was worried about it spreading, so I just cut that off. And I noticed that pretty much all the roots rotted. So it's kind of in a dormant state right now. This is Phalaenopsis subparicii, and it's actually doing really well for me. It grew this leaf, which is definitely a lot bigger, and it's pushing out, it's pushing out this other leaf now. So this is my NOID phal, and I decided just to put it in a cup. So I'm sort of doing a vase culture with it. Not for any reason other than I didn't have any pots and I didn't want to put it in a pot. I just wanted hanging, and this seemed to work. Also, it had a scale infestation, so I think that helps that it doesn't have any media. So far it seems okay. This is my phal amboinensis, and it's pushing out a new leaf. It also has that spike that's growing, but not growing very fast. So this is my Ornithochilus deformis, and it's pushing out a new leaf. And I just saw, I think it may be pushing out a new spike as well, so we'll see. And this is my Dendrobium bellatilum, and I decided to take out all the Spanish moss that was around it, mainly because I couldn't really see the plant itself, and I wasn't sure if it was actually helping at all with the humidity, but it hasn't really done anything. It's very, very slow to grow, although it's not dying either, which is a good thing. Alrighty, so that's my video for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!